All right. So we have done quite a bit of mindful movement. All right. You could even call the yoga that we've been practicing as a moving meditation for sure. So now I want to start our journey towards seated meditation. All right. And before we even begin that, when you can put this in the chat or you can unmute your mic, but what do you think, like, how would you explain meditation, or how would you sum it up in a couple of words? What do you think? I'll give you a second to put some stuff in the chat. Come on, there's no right or wrong answer here. This is totally just like however it is you feel. Okay, calming time to relax. All right, calming time to relax. What else? What else do we got? Focus on the breath, practice of calming your mind. So the question I have, mindfulness is like yoga, but more focusing on the mind. Potentially, yeah. I think there's a lot of focus on the body in a physical yoga practice. So I would have to agree with you. Even though in a seated meditation, there is some attention to your body, but not maybe as much. So this is all great. Has anyone tried meditating, and has anyone felt that it is calming to your mind, or it is relaxing? Has anyone had an opposite result when they practice? When I talk to people, a lot of the time they don't find it very calming. They don't find it very relaxing. Sometimes, and if they stick with it, they get there. But a lot of people have this initial reaction that meditation is kind of agitating to a degree. And I want to just kind of talk a little bit about that. And I kind of have this like 3x3 sort of approach. And so if you've had that experience where, like, you feel like you're not doing it right, or it's stressful, or it's not calming, or whatever, maybe this will give you some insight. So meditation, here we go. It's not what you think. So let's start by talking about what meditation is not. All right. And I'm going to speak in certainties here. Of course, there's always some room for wiggle here, but for the most part, it's not stopping your thoughts. Okay. So if you have been told that to meditate, you need to stop your thoughts, good luck. I mean, for someone who's very, very advanced in this practice, perhaps, but most people do not have the ability to just stop thinking, okay, or stop minding. It's also not a time to like analyze your thoughts. I know this was the definition I had of meditation when I was younger. When I was in high school, I thought, like, I would say things like, "Oh, I'm gonna go meditate on it," and what I was saying was that I was gonna like just focus on this thought and analyze it and try to come up with an answer. So that's not quite it either. And it's, of course, not dwelling on the thoughts that pop up either. Hopefully that's what you already understood about the process. So I'd like to kind of suggest how you can think about the process. Okay. So essentially what you're doing is you are working with your ability to direct your mental energy. Okay. So you are choosing where your mental energy is going. So instead of a thought popping into your mind, and then you, without even realizing it, probably just start to like take your mental energy onto that thought and you whisk away somewhere else. Instead, you make a conscious effort to stay anchored on a focal point. I kind of liken it to the difference between watching a movie versus walking through a museum. So watching a movie, like you sit there and these images and this dialogue and the story kind of comes and you just sort of allow yourself to get taken away on this sort of ride. Whereas I feel like meditation is kind of like a casual walk through a museum. Like you're not going there for like an art history class where you're like analyzing every piece, but you're just kind of casually, you're walking on your path. You know, you see a piece of art on the wall, you look at it, you smile at it, you appreciate it, and then you move on. You don't try to crawl inside of the painting or obsess over it. Now, like anything else, some people are going to have a natural disposition for this. They're going to have feel more success, more ease in meditating. Some of us have an active mind and it's going to be more work. Simple as that. And in the same way, some days are going to be like kind of easy. Like you'll sit down to meditate and you'll just drop in and it'll feel great. Other days it's going to be like torture. You're going to want to get out of there. Your mind just won't stop. And so the key here is just that consistent, sustained effort, like anything, is going to allow you to build that mental strength. So I've got this sort of 3x3 way to think about it. The first three steps are your preparation. Okay, so number one is you're going to choose a focus. Now, this is going to be that thing that you dedicate your attention to the entire time. So it can be internal. All right, and some examples of this are the sound and sensation of your breath. You can visualize something. So, like an example of this would be like visualizing healing light traveling up your spine, and then as it exhales, that healing light washes over you. You can even focus on just the sensations that show up in your body. And so, like, if your foot falls asleep, you can just focus on that. It's like, and you just name it, and you just keep saying to yourself, tingling, 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 or itching, or warmth, or coldness, and you just repeat that as you focus on that sensation. Now, you can also have an external focus. All right, so a very popular one is just to light a little candle and just stare at the flame. So, kind of on the fire element. So, these external focus ones I've kind of oriented around more natural things, the different elements. So, maybe you got a favorite spot on the beach. Well, you might want to gather some sand up into like an old glass jar and then bring it home. And then you can meditate and just staring at the sand and appreciate that earth element, or even like water. So you can go that way with it. And similar, kind of like a mixture of internal and external, are the picture of a loved one, maybe someone who's passed away. You can repeat a phrase, mantra, or affirmation. Like let go is one, or I am truth, I am love. There's different kind of approaches that you can take here. Or you could even have your focus on a significant image from your personal belief system. So if that's something you're into, that is also, basically you just have to pick one of these. Now, every once in a while, when I'm having a really hard time with my meditation, I'll do like a combination of like two, maybe even sometimes three, where like I'm definitely focused on my breath, but I'm also visualizing the healing light, and I'm also saying to myself, let go, or so hum, or whatever it is. So on the really hard days, I'll use multiple, but I try just to focus on one. Next thing you want to do is think about how long to meditate. So if you haven't done this before, then 7 minutes is like a really good place to start. Eventually, I would say working towards 15 to 20 minutes is great, but there are people who practice for like 30 minutes or more every day. And the reason that you choose the time before you start is that you want to commit to that time. So during the process, your mind, your ego, your desires, whatever you want to call them, will definitely try to pull you out of your meditation and convince you to stop. I kind of think of this like it realizes that it's losing control over you. And so it's trying to sabotage the mission. So when my mind is really actively trying to pull me out, I kind of think of that as like a good sign that like, okay, like this is my consciousness now taking over where my mental energy goes. And for me, I think that's a good thing. Now, to know when you're done, you've got two options. First of all, you can set a timer. All right. If you choose this option, don't go like checking the timer during the meditation. Just set it, start it, and then put it down. Wait till it goes off. Because again, like I said a moment ago, your mind is going to be constantly like being like, you should check that timer. I don't think you actually started it. It's been way too long. It should be over by now. Blah 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 blah. Just let it be. Trust that you started the timer. Wait till it goes off. Or instead, this is what I do most times, is I just say, okay, I'm doing my 15 minutes. And I occasionally, when I feel like the time is up, that's when I check my watch. And it's kind of crazy because when I first feel it, I let it go because I know I'm like, no, it's probably not it. And then when I'm like, I think I might be there, I think I might be at 15 minutes, almost every single time I'm at 13 minutes. I'm like, I have 2 minutes left. The more consistent I am, if I do this daily, then I start to get to the point where I just kind of feel it. And every time I check my clock, it's like exactly 15 minutes. Sometimes it's even a little bit longer. Then the last thing in terms of your preparation is you want to make sure you have a comfortable seat. Now, there are different kinds of meditation: standing, lying down, and even moving meditation. So you can like do walking meditation, and our yoga movement, definitely a form of moving meditation. But the seated version is a good mixture of comfort and alertness. Okay, so it prevents you from falling asleep, essentially, right? Because if you're laying down, that's the most comfortable, but we don't want to fall asleep. So the other thing you want to do is use props to support your body. All right, so lifting your hips by sitting on a block, a cushion, or a rolled up blanket is a great idea. That's going to help your ability to keep your posture. If you're using a chair, like you don't have to sit cross-legged on the floor, with a blanket over you, like you're like in the Himalayan, mountain range or something like that. You can use a chair. Just don't lean back on the backrest and keep both feet flat onto the ground. And you also want to make sure that your tailbone isn't tucked underneath your seat. This is a very common thing that kind of is related to slouching. And so this is why sitting on something like a block or a cushion is helpful, because you can prevent your tailbone from sort of sneaking underneath you if you do that. Now you also have a little bit of light work to do in your seat. So it is a little bit active, and that again is going to help you to stay more alert. And the first thing you want to do is just lengthen your spine upward so you're not slouching down. Okay, so there's a gentle lift happening. Then relax your face, your jaw, your eyes, and even let your shoulders sort of melt back and down. And then finally, you do want to gently engage your belly. So a little bit of that rib cage loop of drawing the rib cage slightly down and in. And that's going to just prevent your lower back from pushing forward too much. So it's going to kind of just help give it something to support as you go. And of course, that can be difficult over time because you're engaging your abdominals. But the other thing that can be just as hard over time is if you don't do that, your lower back starts to hurt and then you get all fidgety and everything. All right, so those are the 3 prep steps. Choose a focus, choose a time, get a comfortable seat. So now let's talk about what do you do now that you've had all that done. All right, first thing, commit to staying engrossed on what you've chosen as your focus, whatever that is. Stick with it the entire time. Now, when thoughts, distractions, desires, daydreams, any of that stuff comes up, which it totally will, what do? First of all, just notice it. That's your first opportunity for mindfulness. Just noticing that something is trying to distract you is your opportunity for mindfulness. So it's going to happen where a thought will creep in and you'll start like running with it without even realizing it. All right. And that's okay. But when you do finally recognize it, just notice it. Don't judge the thought. Don't judge yourself. So practice just being non-judgmental here and just look at it, smile, breathe, and then let it go. And then come back to your focus. So it's that simple. Not always easy, but definitely always simple. And you'll find that some days, zero problem. Like you might have one or two thoughts that pop in, but you just like dropped in and it's groovy. Other days, you might have to go through this process of noticing it, not judging it, letting it go, returning back to your focus, like almost nonstop. Okay. Again, you're not judging yourself. This is a practice. You're working on strengthening your ability to direct that mental energy. All right. So let's get this thing going. Huh? Let's see what we can do here by, that's right, coming together for a little seated meditation. So I don't know what your environment is right now. Hopefully you've got the space to give it a go. I'm going to use this pillow here. So I'm going to sort of fold it up and sort of roll it up a little bit. If you're doing this with your couch cushion, make sure you check with your parents or whoever. And then I'm going to put it underneath my seat, make sure my tailbone is sticking out, and then sit down on it so it's not tucked underneath. So I could have my feet flat on the ground. I'm actually going to sit cross-legged, making sure not to lean back. And I am going to I'm going to basically take you through a visualization. So your focus is just going to be on your breath today and potentially the words let go. Okay. And so that's our focus. And I'm going to be helping you with your focus. Our time is 7 minutes. All right. So we're going to take 7 minutes. And again, I'll give you a moment here as you adjust your seat and get yourself all situated. Now remember, sit up nice and tall through your spine so you're not slouching. Shoulders are back on your body, gently downward. Face is relaxed. And your belly just gently pulls in. Your rib cage gently loops down to just engage a little bit and help lengthen a little bit more through the crown of your head. Now, as you relax your face, you might want to close your eyes or let your eyelids be heavy. Again, continuing to let the crown of the head lift. And I want you to bring your awareness to the feeling of your breath. If you want to control it to make it longer and slower or bring a sound to it, you can, but you don't have to. Just feel the air coming in, the air going out. What I want you to do today is visualize yourself laying in a park. There's a blanket down underneath you, and you're just kicked back looking up at a clear blue sky. Now take a moment to sort of fill in your environment. Maybe if there are trees around you, what kind of trees, what color or design the blanket is underneath you. And again, just looking up at that blue sky, the sun's off in the distance somewhere else. So like the sun's not in your eyes. The temperature is perfect, not too hot, not too cool. In fact, you can feel a warmth on your skin, and every once in a while, just a gentle breeze over the surface to cool you down. As you see yourself laying there, I want you to now visualize Just a cloud coming into your view. So you don't have to move your head at all. Just a cloud just going to float right above you. And I want you to look at it. Notice if it reminds you of anything. Notice the color, the texture. And like that wind within you, let the breath gently push that cloud out of your mind's eye, out of that blue sky mind. You don't need to turn your head and watch it go. Just let it drift off into the distance. Now, continue to lay back, and with every thought, desire, distraction, or daydream that comes in, I want you to notice it like it's a cloud in your blue sky mind. And instead of getting up from your blanket and walking down the street as you look up and follow that cloud or follow that thought, you're going to stay grounded right where you are. Staying with the feeling of your breath. And just watching what happens to that blue sky. Gently checking in with your posture, crown lifts, shoulders down and back, face relaxed. About one more minute here. So if you've given up or things are getting hard, just recommit for one more minute. Now, if you're really feeling dropped in and you want to stay where you're at, continue that vibe, feel free. Otherwise, you can bring your hands onto your legs, just give a little bit of a rub, create some sensation between your hands and your legs. Then inhale, take your arms all the way up and overhead. And then exhale, twist, opposite hand, opposite knee. And then head over to the other side. Inhale, the arms up. And exhale, twist. Then coming back to center, blinking your eyes open, maybe moving the shoulders around, taking any other movement that you might need. And take a moment. Notice how you feel. You might not feel better. That's okay. But if anyone would like to share a little bit, either in the chat or unmute yourself, I want to create the space for that in these last couple of minutes.
I feel calmer.
Awesome. Awesome. Was it, how about during the process? Was it calm feeling during the process, or was it kind of difficult, but now you feel calm?
At first it was kind of difficult, like while we were doing it, but then when it came like towards the end, that's when I started to feel much more calmer.
Awesome. And that's a very typical sort of process that I go through as well, where I'll have, even in like a 15-minute session, I'll have these kind of moments of like, and then poof, and sometimes the craziness will come back, sometimes it won't. So again, your only thing is to just stay with your focus. Again, it's simple, but it can be really, really hard to do. And the why is that you start to then train your ability to notice what happens with your mind. And if it's taking you somewhere where you're not interested in, you can choose not to, rather than just be sort of caught in the wind and go with wherever it wants to blow you. All right. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you next time.